This mini-series is brought to you by HARTING, a friend of the Automation Ladies and the industrial connectivity team on a mission to prove that every connection matters. Are you going to IMTS this year in Chicago? Well, Nikki is, and so is HARTING. If you're walking around the IMTS show floor this year, you'll notice HARTING connectors powering robots of all shapes and sizes and moving data through automation machinery. You can stop by their in-booth demo truck experience and get hands-on with HARTING's famous modular connectors. And you can even customize your own, just like Lego. For a little more information about HARTING, check out our episode from Season 3 with Ed and Goda, where we talk a little bit more about why the heck should we care about connectors. As always, we encourage you to connect with and get to know the people in our community, so go ahead and look up Ed, Goda, or Amanda Marks from HARTING on LinkedIn and connect with them. You can also learn more about HARTING at harting.com. This mini-series will run until September during IMTS, and then after IMTS, we will kick off Season 5 of Automation Ladies, the audio podcast, with some pre-recordings that we have in backlog. You can look for our LinkedIn Lives starting in October with our live recap from the AHTD Fall Meeting in Bellevue, Washington, and we should be doing regular LinkedIn Lives on Thursdays at 3 p.m. Central starting in October 2024. Finally, follow us, connect with us, please write us a review on your favorite podcast platform, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Automation Ladies, if you haven't seen our content over there yet. And with that, welcome to our new mini-series with HARTING, and I hope you guys are having a great summer.
Okay, so we are up for another conversation here at the HARTING booth at Automate 2024. It is now the afternoon. We managed to a little bit have lunch and another cup of coffee. So we have our friend, good friend, longtime friend, Lee Walker, or Ale as we like to call her, so we don't mix our alleys up.
It's good to be here, guys. Gals.
Yes, and we have a new HARTING SME with us today that we haven't talked to yet.
Yep, first time.
Corey, you want to introduce yourself and tell us who you are, what you do?
Yeah, Corey Jenkins. I work for HARTING. Been here for over 2 decades.
Nice.
So it seems like a long time. I'm currently on the business development side, but I've held many engineering, product management, business unit director type roles. So I have experience on kind of both sides of connectivity and from the design to the implementation side.
I love that. Somebody with a real background in doing stuff than selling stuff makes a whole lot more sense.
It does. You could be like me and just be a salesperson out of the womb.
Yep.
You've got somehow the family connections that the doing stuff is in your blood and your DNA too. So like, I think
I'm a mountain girl.
Yes, you are, of course. And I guess I recently saw you feature your mom at an event. Was that last week?
It was last week in Lexington at our event at Great Solutions. It was great. It's really nice when our worlds, they can collide with mom sometimes. It's good.
So for those that might be watching or listening to this and don't know your mom, who's your mom?
It's Kathy Walker. She's the founder and the CEO of eCami. It's a workforce development institution in East Kentucky.
All right. So just wanted to make sure if we give a shout out, people can look it up or
shout out mom. I'm in Chicago today. If I haven't heard from her, so.
My mom gets to watch my escapades on LinkedIn because I guess I post more about what cities I'm in there than I do contact her on Facebook or give her a call on Sundays.
And your mom's in Europe, right?
She's in Iceland.
Iceland. That's what I thought. Yeah.
So she adds a whole nother country to the listenership of Automation Ladies.
A little farther than Kentucky.
Right? A little. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I really want to have you guys drive this conversation. I've been asking people questions and talking about innovation and connectors and connectivity and community all day. These are all things that I think, you at Great Solutions can tie in with all kinds of things. You guys do all of those and more.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you guys do?
For sure. Yeah. So we are a large organization. Actually, we are a design and a build firm, but my division on the solution side, we make the building work, right? So we would integrate a lot of things like what HARTING does. And I actually, in all honesty, I just learned about HARTING this week. And I heard your all's, the podcast that you all did a couple weeks ago.
With Ed and Goda.
It was great.
Yeah.
And Ed is great. So you're going to do great, Corey.
Got it.
But it's amazing, using HARTING and the integrations that we are doing, but it increases the efficiency, of the deployments that we're doing. It's very simple. Who knew you could have highly custom off the shelf? What a combo that is, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's the mecca So, I mean, we're excited as a partner and as an SI, but at the end of the day, the time's money and it saves the customer money, which I think is great as an SI. That's always good.
I actually just brought up an example from somebody else that came to me a few weeks ago looking to source, and they need to have a custom connector cable made for like a battery pack for one of these robots. And it seems like an insane amount of money and time that's going into a very minute part of the actual system.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that they're probably not very happy with the bottom line of that project. Like every time that problem comes up.
Oh my gosh.
Which shouldn't even be part of the process at all. It's a connector, which again, many people think of as a afterthought until something goes wrong. Or they're like, I can't find this. What the heck? Why is it so hard to get connectors? That's also one of the first ways that I found out about Harting. I had just connected with Amanda on LinkedIn recently, and then somebody complained about connectors. And I just connected the two, and I was like, wait, I think I just talked to someone from a connector company. And then it made me a whole lot more interested in connectors and learning about them. And I'm like, why haven't I heard about this before?
And with Harting, they're highly flexible. I mean, there's nothing worse than whenever you're locked in. You have to rip out wire. You got to put it back in. Maybe you have a line changer and upgrade. It's expensive and it's tough. But with Harting, I mean, it's a plug and play. It's a really, really beautiful thing on the SI side.
Yeah. When it comes to like plug and play, that's kind of like the right answer. And whether it's like Ethernet, power, signal, or data, or whether it's on the cabinet, the robot, a camera, a sensor, it's all kind of the same concept. It's when you want to install, you can do it quickly, flexible, and it's going to work.
And the other thing that I learned recently on Harting is that, with an SI or even an end user, you have varying levels of engineering, the expertise on your team. So they can do it, or they can hire Harting or an SI with the design and implementation. So it's like, you don't have to have an SME that can do this, which I think is really, really beautiful. And on the workforce side, right? On the labor side, it really alleviates a lot of challenges that I think a lot of folks are facing, is having to have an SME to, rip out wire and reconfigure it.
Like one of the other things too is if you're designing pieces of whatever system or the building it is, they're not always designed in the same location, right? You could have the cabinet designed even overseas. You could have the robot designed in Europe. You could have the conveyor system motor designed in, Michigan, but it all has to come together, right? So if each piece is individually tested before it arrives, and then you have a tested cable assembly to plug it all together, it just goes a lot more smoothly. And that's really the reality in many cases, is equipment coming all over the place.
Are you guys seeing, Allie, more of this being brought in as an efficiency factor in new installations, or are you guys also working with customers to like retrofit their existing equipment to be more modular? Or as you're coming in and making upgrades and things, is that something that you guys are looking at saying, hey, actually, if you went ahead and, took this hardwired thing and connectorized it, then you can also do more in the future? Or maybe that's just part of, I'm going to stop now.
No, for sure. I mean, we have a lot of folks that want to become more modular, nimble to market. Maybe a line needs to be upgraded. It needs to change. They're running a new product, right? We need to be nimble as well with our customer, but at the same time, not really high on price, right?
Yeah.
We need to get in there. We need to be really efficient. And with Harting, it helps us really do that. We don't have to take a lot of time, to have to plan and all of this stuff. It's a plug and play. And again, the time is money, and it makes us very efficient, and thus very competitive.
Yeah. It helps you actually make money on your projects.
It is nice. Yeah, it is nice.
Allie, maybe you can speak to this a little bit, coming from a smaller systems integrator that maybe has less like established procedures that are super efficient each time. But every time you're integrating something new, there's a number of things that can go wrong. And like small systems integrators, I think I've heard this enough. They sometimes underbid because they don't know how much hours they're going to actually spend on something that seems easy, but then it turns out to be complex. A huge cost of these types of projects is not the products, right? It's the iterations, the revisions, the engineering hours, and then also the man hours, and actually trying to get it to work when it's on the floor, right? Your factory acceptance testing and all that kind of stuff. So I think, from a cost standpoint, sometimes looking at spending a little bit more so you can spend less time making the thing work. That's actually
amazing trade-off.
Huge value.
Oh, yeah.
How do we more efficiently evaluate that trade-off? Aside from just the salesperson going, it's going to be easier and cheaper and you're going to save money.
I mean, from our side, right, the connector costs money.
Yeah.
Right? The minute you connect and disconnect it, you physically have paid for the connector itself without any of the advantages.
Right.
The flexibility, the installation time savings, or even the after-service maintenance of replacing something.
Yeah.
All that aside, which is normally why people would use a connector for the installation time, but just that once testing, disconnecting, you paid for that connector. So we've looked at it many different ways. People ask, what is your labor rate? It depends. How fast do they do this? If you boil it all down to keep it very simple, one connection, disconnection, you pay.
And on that too, I mean, on the parts side, like we all remember a few years ago what happened with all of the parts that weren't
still happening in some places.
I mean, again, it's off the shelf. Like it's easy for maintenance. It's easy to redeploy if and when anything goes wrong. So that's really valuable too.
We were talking a little bit in our earlier conversation, and I know you weren't there, Ale, but there's differences culturally between how we do things in Europe and in Asia and here in North America. Is modularization and connectorization more popular in Europe, and are we now catching up, or is it just all over the world we're finally realizing that, hey, we should be doing this? Or is it because Harting is bringing the options now?
I would answer that. Yeah. Maybe not. It's not maybe not geographical type. It is, but it isn't, if you know what I mean. The sooner a piece of equipment becomes more complex.
Yeah.
More data, more Ethernet. And that connectorization's benefits are more worthwhile, right? If you have just a very simple machine that doesn't have modules in it, maybe connectorization doesn't make sense, but that's not the case in many cases. So I think in other areas, we're more advanced in complex machines or smart machines, right? Do you see now?
Right.
As everyone's getting in that phase, connectorization is truly global.
Well, now it's all about getting that data.
Yep.
And I think we saw in the keynote earlier today with Siemens, they gave an example project where there was time or cost savings in the efficiency and things like that. But then there was also a huge time savings in the time it takes to actually access the data. And I think now we have to think of time, speed to innovation, and in a whole another abstract layer now, like up in the cloud. It's not just what we make and how quickly we make it on the floor, but then how do we actually start to get these preventative, predictive insights? And yes, maybe it's that they're building more new smart plants in places where it is easier to justify the investment because labor rates are higher and so on. And that's where you see the earlier adoption of this. But now I think that we're getting to a point where even the existing facilities that have been around forever, they're upgrading enough and doing it piece by piece that this is coming in.
Yeah, if someone's going to go through the time to upgrade, they're going to make it better.
Yeah.
Right? And smarter. So then connectivity can come in during that upgrade.
Are there any, on your side, Allie, great solutions, innovations in sort of the software and data layer that you guys are excited about or that you're introducing, or something new that you've seen, or a fun application?
Software and the data layer. I mean, yeah, I really think, and everyone uses these words, right? Machine learning and AI. But what I'm really excited about is leveraging those in order to optimize what's on the floor, right? How are we going to increase the OEE of this machine, leveraging all of this high tech, right? And it's still really, really new, but absolutely we are looking into that heavily over at Great Solutions.
I bet you are. And I think about, so when I say software and data and stuff, I know this is more probably play on your side, but our friend Samuel Janes.
Oh gosh.
I have to always give him a shout out.
He's the best.
He's the coolest, and he made the music for Automation Ladies.
It sounds great.
Because many engineers have all kinds of other talents.
He's
and letting
talented.
Them play with some of that, which I know he makes spot dance.
He does.
And all kinds of cool stuff like that.
The handler, the spot handler. Yes.
Allie said that she used to be afraid of Spot, but then I think at the manufacturing happy hour at Automation Fair last year, she got a little up close and personal.
Oh, yeah.
And then we saw Sam get in the Uber with Spot.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Listen,
That's
he packs that thing around like a carry-on, But it is now wrapped in all black. So if you weren't horrified.
Oh, that's
Now there's.
Are you still scared?
A little bit.
Okay.
I think he might be there tonight. So
Okay. Well, I'll give him another chance.
he's real sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Real sweet.
So yeah, we are headed to, and we're pretty excited about another manufacturing happy hour co-hosted by our friends at HARTING and Ale Solutions.
That's right.
Which really they are just, whether you have business to do with them or not, which you probably will in one way or another, they are fun. And you are invited.
Both of them.
They're very open and welcoming. I feel that kind of culture from both of your companies.
It's a family
and
owned.
I like to talk about feelings more than technology.
We know how to get time. Work hard, play hard. That's our motto,
right?
It's the American way. It's called balance.
Corey, what are you seeing on the business development side are as like probably, I don't know, the most cutting edge applications that people are asking for?
Got it. It really, everybody wants everything smaller. So miniaturization.
Yeah.
And more power through a smaller space. If you look at like data centers and that sort of thing. So everybody wants more in smaller space. Like I said, whether it's power or signal and that's really, really the trend everywhere. Whether it's, doesn't matter what connector, what industry, and we're seeing it all over the place. In addition to everything we talked about, quicker install, all that, but connectors need to be smaller, right? People are trying to put more copper through smaller cables, whether it's through liquid cooling, cables that heat dissipate faster or better, right? There's new technologies in materials on things that transmit or have less resistance. We're looking at all kinds of things like just to make things smaller.
And on that too, one other thing I learned, I really did a lot of research, Corey. I did a lot of research.
All right, let's see.
I want to be ready-ish.
Let's see.
But on the SI side with implementing robotics, less is more, right? And you guys can really offer less with more, and it impacts all the payload that a robot's able, really to handle. That it impacts the throughput. It impacts the end of arm tool. It impacts what we recommend, right? Which I think, again, is money and time. And so it's just a cool feature that you guys offer over there.
Yeah. Yep, that too. And in some industries, like sustainability is becoming a new keyword, right? The types of plastics that we buy, who do we buy? How are they made, right? That is, I think, the next trend. I think people are talking about it. Some people are implementing. Some industries, not so much, but that's the next thing, right? You see, we offer metal connectors, but we also offer a lot of plastic connectors, right? So I know that's happening in the connector world. It's happening in the cable world. So I would say that's another trend that we are not just hearing, but seeing.
And less is more. It's obviously getting more, bang for your buck, right? More compact, more capability and smaller footprint. Being able to do more with less time. Being able to do more with less people. I think that is kind of like overarching for whether it's the workforce side of things, the technology side of things, right? But how do we do that without sacrificing quality or experience, right? That's like the ultimate problem to always be optimizing for, right?
Yep. It is. Yes.
And it's nice that somebody cares about doing it specifically for connectors. Because those of us that look at the whole factory, like that's not necessarily what you think of. Like you said, you hadn't really
it is now.
Heard of it
at the top of mind now.
Right?
Yeah.
If you walk the show, every booth will have let's just say a lot of connectors.
So now that you've watched or heard this, or you've heard us talk about connectors, or you've listened to the podcast that we had earlier with Ed and Goda, it's like when you buy a car, right? And you all of a sudden see that car everywhere. Now I can't help but look at, I wonder what kind of connector this is, right?
I've noticed the logo.
Don't go on vacation with me. My kids are at home.
I've seen you guys. I've just never known what you've done. But I'm
walk into a cruise boat.
Yeah.
Cruise ship. Connectors on the X-ray equipment. You're like, all right, stop that.
I would like to see the camera roll on your phone from your colleague phone. Oh my God. How many of them are connectors and how many are your family?
We don't.
We went to a conference last year. We spoke at the Ignition Community Conference, and Emily went out one night, and we were looking at photos, and she was like, she had all these photos of what was it, valves and things on the side of the gas station,
gas collections and stuff for restaurants.
I'm just looking at all the stuff that nobody looks at. Take pictures of that.
Me and a Kroger is horrifying. I'm like, that was packaged bad. We did a good job on that one. That was pretty good.
All the time I used to do machine vision and laser marking, and I would look at the date codes on everything, like labels.
So many date codes.
So many date codes, skewed labels. Yeah, it really messes with you.
The QR codes now, offset.
Yeah. It's great for all of us to expand our horizons a little bit. And you don't need to be the expert on connectors because Harting is. And now you know where to find them.
Mm-hmm.
So now that you've opened your eyes to connectors, you'll see them everywhere. Now you know who to call when you start thinking about them and you find an opportunity, problem, challenge, right? So come to us, automation ladies. We know the great folks at Harting. We can point you in the right direction, or connect with Corey, follow him on LinkedIn, right? Ale is a master of bringing people together. Systems, people, friends, whatever. So contact her. And yeah, I can't believe that we're going to continue to have fun talking about connectors for an entire day at Automate. But I'm
so excited.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, see you later. And if you are here, well, this is recorded, but we're going to have a heck of a party later today.
Y'all come see us.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. I got my cowboy boots on.
If you're hearing this later and you are coming to Automate next year, keep that party on your schedule open. All right. Thank you so much, guys.